Today we're going to be looking at using compatible numbers to help us add mentally. Things that are compatible, they get along well with each other. So if we're talking about compatible numbers, we're talking about numbers that we can add together easily. So when you first started in about first grade looking at compatible numbers, you were talking about numbers that would make 10. You might have heard them called friends of 10. And if you were to list out all of your numbers from 1 to up into 10, we'll start at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You can find all of your pairs that make 10 easily. 0 plus 10 equals 10. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 2 plus 8 equals 10. 3 plus 7 equals 10. 4 plus 6 equals 10. And because 5's right in the middle, we have to double it. So 5 plus 5 makes 10. So we would call these pairs of numbers compatible. We would call 0 and 10 compatible, 1 and 9 are compatible, 2 and 8 are compatible, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, 5 and 5 are compatible numbers because they easily add up to 10. And like I said, you might have heard them called friends of 10 before. Okay. But as you are getting bigger and you're using bigger numbers, you're going to need compatible numbers that can help you add up higher. So we're going to look at ones that make 100. Compatible numbers that make 100. And you can actually do this nice little rainbow trick. You can do that with compatible numbers to make 100 as well. If you start at 0 and count to 100 using tens. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Okay, so from 0 over to 100 would be our first line. So 0 plus 100 equals 100. I'm sorry you can't quite see the whole thing. I forgot to record this at school and I am trying to record it on my phone, which is precariously placed trying to work as a tripod. So I appreciate your being patient with me, but I will make sure to write the equations down here for you. 10 and 90, those equal 100. 20 and 80, those equal 100. 30 and 70 equal 100. 40 and 60 equal 100, and 50 plus 50 equals 100. So we would say that the numbers 10 and 90, 20 and 80, 30 and 70, 40 and 60, 50 and 50 are compatible because they help us make 100 quickly in our head. You could use this exact same pattern to get all the way to compatible numbers that make 1,000. I'm going to turn our picture. If we're going to have to write with hundreds, we're going to need bigger numbers. So compatible numbers that make 1,000. Okay, so if we're going to make up to 1,000, let's see if I can and get you a little higher. All right, we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go over to 1,000 counting by 100s. 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000. Okay, so 0 over to 1,000. So 0 plus 1,000 equals 1,000. Now let's get into our compatible pairs. So 100 goes over to 900. So 100 plus 900 equals 1,000. Those are compatible numbers. 200 plus 800 equals 1,000. 300 plus 700 equals 1,000. 400 plus 600 equals 1,000. 500 plus 500 equals 1,000. So we have found compatible pairs that will go all the way to 1,000. We've just followed the same pattern over and over again, and we see that we can find our compatible numbers to make 10, to make 100, and to make 1,000. But sometimes they're not as simple as that. So sometimes we're going to have numbers that don't end in this friendly 0. So let's look for some maybe that have 5s. Why 5, you ask? Because 5 is half of 10. So let's look at these numbers here. I've got 55, 75, 45, 15, 85, and 25. Now these are not in any pattern. I'm just wrote these numbers down in a random order so that we can find the pairs that make 100. So the one that might jump out to you first would probably be 25 and 75. It might jump out to you first because you think about quarters. You think about 25 cents plus 75 more cents equals $1. So you might think of it quickly. Okay, but let's look for some other compatible numbers. So if you look at 85, well, when I think about 85 on a number line, I think about the fact that it's pretty close to 100. So if I were to make myself a little quick number line here with 10s, I could see, okay, so 85 is right in the middle of 80 and 90. So to get over to 100, I can tell it's got to go 10 and a little more. So looking at my numbers, I know that the one that has to be the compatible number is going to have to be 15, because 45 is going to be too big. That's too big of a jump. So 85 and 15. Well, let's think about that. 85 and 15. Well, I know from before, from my friends of 10, that 5 and 5 make 10. And then I have 80 and 10 left over. So if I had 80, or we'll do this plus, this is 80, plus this is 10, there's my 100. Okay, 80 plus 10 plus 10. Or you could make it simpler for yourself. You could do 85 plus 15. 5 plus 5 is 10. 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 85 and 15, those are going to be compatible numbers because they make 100. Which means 55 and 45 are also going to have to be compatible numbers to make 100. And again, we can see 5 plus 5. That's a friendly problem we can solve in our head. 5 plus 5 is 10. And then if we have 10, we're going to regroup one more. And that's going to give us 1 plus 5 plus 4, which we know is 10. So we get 100. So we know that these numbers are compatible sets to make 100. 75 and 25, 55 and 45, 85 and 15 all can work together. Knowing those compatible pairs can really help us when we have to add a group of numbers. So if I was given a problem like this, 75 plus 61 plus 25, I could look at this set of numbers and I should notice that there are two numbers that are compatible and will equal 100 quickly. So if I took the 75 and the 25 and I add those together first, and I get 100, then I'm going to be left with a much easier problem, because now I can take 100 and add that 61, and that's just going to be 161. So now I was able to take this problem and I was able to solve it in my head by knowing that 75 plus 25 is 100. I was able to use my compatible numbers to help me. Let's look at another one like that. 145 plus 55 plus 7. 5. I see compatible numbers that make 100 right here. 145 plus 55. Well, 45 plus 55 was 100. So 145 plus 55. So 145 plus 55, well, that's going to be 200. Then I can take 200 and add 7. I can do that in my head. 200 plus 7, oh, that's just 207. So now I took this big problem and I was able to solve it in my head pretty much. Let's try one more time. Even if they're not lined up across horizontally, they could be lined up vertically, but you could still solve with it. So let's try 62 plus 47 plus 28. So if we're starting in the ones place to add, what do we see that makes 10? Hopefully you see that the 8 and the 2 make 10. And if the 8 and the 2 make 10, then I can just add 10 plus 7 more, and that tells me that the whole ones row is going to be 17. But I still have to add in the tens place. So now let me look for another pair of numbers that can help me. Well, I have 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 4. Well, I remember from earlier that 6 and 4 are compatible numbers that make 10. So here's 10. So now I can say 10 plus 2, which is 12, plus 1 more is 13. So I can see that my sum of 62 plus 47 plus 28 is 137. You think this can help us with an even longer question? Let's try. 41 plus 73 plus 39 plus 67 plus 55. Holy moly, 5 add-ins. That's a lot of numbers we're looking at. So let's start in our ones place and let's look for some nice compatible numbers. Oh, I already see a pair. I see 1 and 9. Well, those make 10. Oh, I see another pair. I see 3 and 7. Well, that's another 10. And then there's just 5 more. So that would be 10, 20, 25. I still have to regroup, but it was much easier. All right, let's try in the hundreds place, or the tens place. Let's look for compatible pairs. I see 4 and 6. That makes 10. Put it over here. Oops, 7 and 3. That's another compatible pair. That makes 10. 2 and 5 aren't compatible, but I can add 2 and 5 in my head. 2 plus 5 is 7. So now I was able to add all these numbers. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 7 more is 27. I was still able to use a lot of mental math to solve that problem. to find my total. So hopefully you're going to be using compatible numbers to make your adding and subtracting even a little bit faster by remembering that you have those pairs that can help you. So remember your rainbow trick. You can always pull that out if you need it. Your friends of 10 are going to be across the rainbow from one another. 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, and then 5 plus 5. Your friends of 100 are going to be across the rainbow from each other. 10 and 90, 20 and 80, 30 and 70, 40 and 60, and 50. Okay guys, so I showed you this rainbow trick to make your compatible numbers to 100, starting counting by tens, and how we could find their pairs by going across the rainbow. I wanted to show you, we talked about some of those fives, like 25 plus 75 and 85 plus 15. I wanted to show you how you could use your rainbow to find those pairs as well, so you'll always have it. So in between each of my tens, I'm going to go back and add the 5 that's in the middle of them. So 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100. Now my compatible pairs that end in 5 instead of ending in 0 are across the rainbow from each other. So 5 plus 95 makes 100. 15 plus 85 makes 100. I'll write these down for you. 5 plus 95. 15 plus 85. Okay, let's keep going. 25, follow the rainbow over. Oops, 75. 25 plus 75 equals 100. That's the one that most people find the easiest because you can count by quarters most of the time. 35 plus 65 equals 100. And 45 plus 55 equals 100. So this is a quick sketch that you could make anywhere. You could make it in your journal, you could make it when you're taking a test, and it will help you to find your compatible numbers that add up to 100